Our first question is coming from Dan Raphael of ESPN.
Well, thank you very much. Hello, Errol.
Hey, how's it going?
Everything is good, thank you. Errol, obviously it's a big fight for you, and I was looking back at some of your previous fights, and even though so many people regard you as a top pound-for-pound caliber guy, you have a world title. I wonder, in your mind, do you view Porter as your biggest test? Because if you go back through the best opponents that you have faced, he seems like he's probably Lamont was a little bit older. Ocampo was not that well known. Garcia is terrific, but was obviously much smaller. Porter seems to be a guy that is much more would be on your equal than maybe those other guys were. What is your opinion of that?
I mean, I see him as a tough test just because he's a world champion and just his fighting style. He's a guy that's aggressive and throws a lot of punches and is very energetic. So, I mean, that's why I see it as a tough test. Cause he's a rough guy. He can get dirty at times, and he does whatever it takes to win. So, I mean, just from that aspect, and him beating Danny Garcia, I see him as a tough test.
And when you fight him, you mentioned his rough style and that sort of stuff. It's not a secret that he does have a rough style, that he, whether it's on purpose or it's just the way he goes, there's elbows in his fights, there's some headbutts in his fights, it gets a little messy in there sometimes. How are you prepared to deal with that element of the physicality that he brings that's not necessarily to the exact letter of the rules?
I can be a very physical person too, and like I said, I'm not of a small stature, so I'm a guy that I feel like I can ward that off or fight it off, or may do the exact same thing. So I just feel like as physical wise, I'm either more physical than him, or just as strong as him. So I mean, I feel like that won't really play a part in this fight.
Okay, and when you were deciding after you had fought the Mikey Garcia fight earlier in the year, and it came down to you and your team getting together and sort of figuring out what the plan was it Porter specifically that you wanted to fight? Did you want a unification fight of some type regardless of who your opponent was? Were you disappointed that you couldn't get Pacquiao next, and so you sort of settled for Porter? I'm just looking for your thoughts about how this particular match came about.
I was just looking for the next available guy, and I wanted a unification fight too. And Sean Porter was the easiest fight to make and the quickest fight to make, so that's why I decided with to fight Sean Porter.
All right, so it was not him specifically, because I think I remember before the Mikey or after the Mikey fight that you really had your mind on hoping that you could maybe line up a matchup with Pacquiao, who had come to Dallas, was in the ring with you after the fight. A lot of people thought that might be the next fight. What were your thoughts about not getting Pacquiao, but taking on Porter instead?
I knew it was a chance I wasn't going to get Pacquiao. I mean, Pacquiao is the bigger name, and it would have been a bigger fight, so of course I wanted that fight. But, I mean, Sean Porter is the champion, too, and he has a belt, so I definitely wanted to unify, too. So I always knew that if I couldn't get Pacquiao, that, it was going to be a big chance that I was going to fight Sean Porter.
And one more question for you, Errol. We don't know how the pay-per-view on this is going to do, obviously, just until the fight's over with. But in your mind, do you view the fight between yourself and Sean as a bigger fight than the one with Mikey? Mikey, I guess, had maybe a little bit of a bigger name, maybe a bit of a bigger fan base. I think most people would look at the fight between yourself and Sean as perhaps a more competitive fight. Where do you stand on that? Which is the bigger fight in your mind?
I think Mike Garcia is a real big name to Sean Porter, but as a fan-friendly fight or as an entertaining fight, I would say, this fight with Sean Porter is going to be, I feel like way more entertaining and way more swings than the Mikey Garcia fight if it didn't have any. So, I feel like the Sean Porter fight, just because it's a unification fight and it's a real fight, I feel like, the Sean Porter fight is bigger.
All right,
name-wise,
go ahead. Finish up what you're saying.
I said name-wise, I would say the Garcia fight was bigger.
Gotcha. All right, Errol, thank you very much for that. I appreciate it and look forward to seeing you next week.